Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources and help you understand them quickly.
That's right.
This time, we're tackling something, well, a little different, the learner.
Yeah, a little outside the box.
You sent us a transcript from YouTube.
Yep, YouTube transcript.
The title is, let me see if I can get this right.
It's a mouthful.
Okay, 297 ES Álvaro, C273P22. Eclipses Marzo 2025 Hypnoperador Team Grafasi, Elena Martín Método Grafasi. That's the title.
You got it.
From the channel ES Caballero Grafasi Investigations to Español.
Wow.
Quite a title.
That is quite a title.
And from what I understand, this video, or well, this transcript, dives into some pretty unique perspective.
It really does, yeah.
Our goal today is to, well, extract the most interesting and maybe even surprising insights from this material.
Yeah, surprise is probably a good word for it.
It blends, a metaphysical viewpoint with discussions about astronomical events.
Yeah, like real things happening in the sky.
Exactly.
But with a very specific lens. That's right. We're talking about a 7-planet alignment. It's supposed to have happened just recently, February 28th, 2025. And then, of course, we have those eclipses coming up in March.
The lunar and the solar eclipse.
Yes, exactly. And this source looks at those through the lens of, hypnotic regression.
Oh, yeah.
So we're here to understand what this transcript is actually presenting impartially.
Right. We are not, passing judgment on whether any of this is true or not.
Not at all.
We just want to see what's in there.
That's our mission today, just to clarify what we're working with here.
Okay. So what are the big things we'll be diving into?
Well, as I mentioned, those supposed metaphysical implications of this 7-planet alignment.
From February?
Yes. And then we'll examine the energetic and metaphysical perspectives surrounding the blood moon lunar eclipse.
That's happening on March 13th and 14th, 2025, for those keeping track.
Right.
Then we have the solar eclipse on March 29th. What energies are they associating with that?
Exactly. And there are even claims about what might happen in the future because of all this. It gets pretty intense.
Future implications. Sounds ominous.
Well, we'll see. The transcript also delves into the idea of manipulation.
Manipulation? Like of what?
It claims that Earth's electromagnetic field is being manipulated through these things they call polar devices.
Polar devices. Wow. Okay.
And there's also this whole identification of a Pleiadian creator figure. It supposedly has a huge influence on Earth.
A Pleiadian creator. That's a whole other layer.
Oh, it is. It's definitely a lot to unpack.
And it all comes from this particular method.
Yeah. Hypnotic regression, guided by Elena Martín.
Yeah.
She's using the Grafasi method.
And all these experiences, these insights, they're coming from someone named Álvaro.
That's right. So it's important to remember, as we go through this, we're looking at these claims and these perspectives specifically within this framework, within this method of hypnotic regression. We're not saying this is how it is for everyone, just what Álvaro experienced under hypnosis.
That's an important distinction. All right, let's start with that 7-planet alignment back in February.
Yeah, let's dive into that. What was Álvaro's take on it, metaphysically speaking?
So he starts off describing this black plane.
A black plane? Like what?
Well, it's described as like the universe itself.
Okay, so like a vast emptiness.
And then inside that, there's this light bulb shape.
A light bulb shape. Interesting.
But, and this is the important part, it's not just a shape. This light bulb contains an entity.
An entity. Okay, so not a physical light bulb, more like energy or something.
Yeah, more like that.
What was this entity like, according to Álvaro?
He describes it as having a really large oval head.
Oval.
Yeah, and it's bigger at the top, like wider.
Huh. What about its face? Any details there?
It had stretched eyes, kind of slanted upwards. And the features were, stylized is the word they use.
Stylized.
Like almost, polished, refined, not human-like at all.
Okay, interesting. And the color?
A greenish gray.
Greenish gray, okay. Size?
Oh, much bigger than a human.
Yeah.
Way bigger. But it seems like Álvaro only saw the head, not the rest of the body.
Just the head. That's kind of spooky.
It is a little creepy.
So we have a non-human entity associated with this alignment.
Right. And then there's this light bulb shape, right? You asked about that.
Yeah.
It's described as pure energy surrounding the head, like almost forming a question mark.
Oh, wow. A question mark. That's symbolic.
It is, yeah. But the interesting thing is, while the light bulb has a definite shape, the entity's energy, it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, extending downwards, and it's connecting to stuff like planetary energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the collective energy of Everyone on Earth who's paying attention to the alignment.
Whoa. So this entity is tapping into a lot of different energy sources.
Yeah, a lot. And they call it a mechanism for capturing energy.
A mechanism. So, like, it's designed for this purpose.
That's how it's described.
What is it doing with all that energy?
That's where it gets a little murky.
Murky how?
They suggest this entity, it's not the end of the line. It's a facade.
A facade. So, like, a front for something else.
Exactly. Like a mask hiding the real beneficiaries.
Okay, so someone else is getting this energy. We don't know who.
Right.
Wow. That's really interesting. It's like there's this whole hidden layer of influence going on.
That's what they're suggesting.
All right, so we have this entity, this facade, capturing energy. What else is going on?
So they keep going with the questioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Álvaro describes these suction cups.
Suction cups. That's a vivid image.
They're connecting to the energetic fields of 6 planet-like entities.
6. So almost all the planets in the alignment.
Yeah.
Are they like sucking energy out of them?
Not necessarily. They say it could be absorption or repositioning of something within these fields.
Repositioning. What does that even mean?
Yeah, it's not super clear,
Yeah.
but the idea is it's not just a straightforward energy transfer. Something is being moved, shifted, adjusted.
Okay. So we have these 6 planet-like entities. Are they all planets we know?
This is where it gets really mind-bending. 3 of them, supposedly, are in a different dimension or a parallel timeline.
Different dimension. Whoa.
They used to be physical, but not anymore, apparently.
Okay, so 3 from somewhere else. What about the other 3?
Those are the ones we know.
Hmm.
At least they resonate with Álvaro's Jupiter, Venus, and Neptune.
So there's interaction happening with planets that we think we know, but also with planets beyond our current understanding.
That's right.
And then there was that light bulb image acting as a filter, you said.
Yeah, it's like a screen blocking what's really going on behind it.
So we're only seeing what they want us to see.
Exactly. It's all very carefully controlled.
That's unsettling. You know, it makes you think about how much we really know about what's happening out there in the universe.
Yeah, it definitely challenges our perspective a bit.
It really does. Okay, so that's the metaphysical take on the alignment. What about the physical perspective? What was observed there?
Well, physically, it wasn't about entities. It was all about light.
Light.
Álvaro described these linear vectors of light emanating from an energy point.
Vectors of light, so like beams.
Yeah, kind of. And they weren't the planets themselves lining up. It was these beams, these vectors. They were being used as reference points to measure the position of things in space.
So they were like using these beams as a cosmic ruler.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It wasn't a literal alignment of planets in a line. It was more about a process of measurement and mapping.
Okay, that's different from what I was picturing.
And this measuring, this mapping, it was creating a new cartography, a new map of the cosmos.
A new map. Why? Had the old one changed or something?
That's what they say. The old map, it's not accurate anymore.
Okay, who was doing all this measuring, this mapping?
Humans and entities were involved.
Yeah.
Both working together. It's like when a landscape changes, you need to update the map.
So they're updating the cosmic map.
Exactly. And the reasons they give for needing this update, they're pretty out there.
Out there how?
Well, interventions by these various entities. Shifts in planetary orbit, some natural, some because of intervention, and even changes in the size of planets.
Changes in size. Like planets are shrinking.
That's what they say. Some are shrinking.
Well, that's definitely not in any astronomy textbook I've ever read.
Right. So the whole idea of this alignment is not what we might normally think of. It's more about a cosmic reorganization, a remapping of everything.
A remapping of the universe. That's a big deal.
Okay, let's shift gears to the lunar eclipse.
Yeah. The blood moon, happening March 13th and 14th.
What did Álvaro experience there, energetically speaking?
Well, it wasn't pleasant, from what I understand.
No, not at all. He describes feeling fear, chaos, and this strong sense of hierarchy.
Hierarchy.
Like humans are at the bottom, subservient. And the moon itself, he sees it as a projector.
A projector. Like a movie projector.
Sort of. But what it's projecting, it's what's causing the red blood moon effect.
So they're saying the moon is being used to transmit negative energies and create that red color.
That's what they're suggesting.
Okay, what exactly was it projecting? Like images, feelings? What?
Whatever they want us to see and feel, it's very vague.
Okay, but the moon has a real effect on Earth, right? Gravity and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets tricky. They say that because of this real influence, this projected energy, whatever it is, it carries more weight. It feels more real, more like a deity influencing us.
So they're using the moon's natural influence to amplify their own manipulation. That's disturbing.
It is.
What about the metaphysical side of the lunar eclipse? What else was there?
Metaphysically, they see it as a projection of information, including the moon's vibrational effect on all of us.
On the collective consciousness, you mean?
Yeah. But the feeling, again, it wasn't good. Control, suppression, manipulation, desire.
All negative stuff.
A show of superiority, instilling fear. Not peace, not harmony.
That's a bleak way to look at a lunar eclipse.
Okay, what about the solar eclipse coming up on March 29th? What did they say about that?
They see it as similar to the lunar eclipse.
In what way?
They're both using these vibrations, right? But the solar eclipse is different. They say it's designed to hit everyone on Earth, the whole population.
Why the whole population with the solar eclipse specifically?
They see it as a show of force. After these new measurements and the new cartography, it's a way of saying, we're in charge. And it's not just planets they claim ownership of, it's the entire universe.
The entire universe. That's a pretty big claim.
It is. So, who are these entities, these owners?
It's not a single being, apparently. Álvaro perceived them as a collective of energy.
Like a hive mind.
Sort of. All these different entities, their thoughts and intentions were all mashed together.
Okay, so it's a group effort.
And there are a lot of them. Some we supposedly know, some are completely unknown.
Including extraterrestrial interferers, you said?
Yes, but behind all of them, there is this leader figure.
Ah, so there's someone at the top.
It's described as a luminous entity that looks like a Pleiadian. White hair, holding a staff. Standing in front of this bright light projection.
Okay, so a very specific image.
And it called itself the Creator H. A Pleiadian from a hierarchy, also called the Creator H.
So the Pleiadians are definitely playing a major role in all of this.
That seems to be the case.
All right, so what about the future? What's supposed to happen because of all this, according to the transcript?
It's not good. They see a new order coming, a new organization, but it's flat and rigid. That's how they describe it.
Not exactly positive.
The goal of all this interference, it's to make people think in a rigid way. Like back in certain times in history when thinking was very inflexible.
So they want to control how we think.
That's the idea. They want everyone encapsulated, stuck in this very narrow way of thinking.
And they compared it to Nazi-like control structures. Blind obedience to a leader. That's pretty dark.
And how are they going to do this, supposedly?
They talk about promoting incarnated essences on Earth, like being born into a physical body. They say it's easier to control someone that way when they have a physical form. So they encourage these fast cycles of reincarnation, life, death, rebirth, over and over.
To keep people from reaching their full potential, you mean?
That's the implication. So it's all about maintaining control.
Okay. Now, there was also this stuff about ancient myths and blood moons, right?
Yeah. The apocalyptic stuff.
What was the connection there?
They tie those myths to the energy of fear and destruction.
Which is what they say the lunar eclipse is all about.
Exactly. And blood moons, historically, they've been associated with some pretty scary stuff. Werewolves, vampires, all sorts of mythological entities embodying fear. And this has shaped beliefs for centuries.
So a blood moon is the perfect time to amplify those fears.
That's what they're saying. It's like a prime opportunity to generate new fear structures.
Okay, back to the moon as a projector. How are they actually doing that?
Well, they offer a few different methods.
Okay, like what?
One is that the moon itself is projecting this red light from inside somehow, almost like it's being, I don't know, painted red.
Wow, that's weird.
Another method they suggest is projection from these rock-like ships.
Hot ships.
Yeah. And also from devices in Earth's atmosphere. They describe them as looking like satellites.
So it's not a natural phenomenon.
Not according to them.
Okay, so they're saying the red color of the moon is artificial.
That's the claim. Specifically, they say there's this one ship that's involved in the whole measuring cartography thing, and it's going to project this red light onto the moon.
Wow.
And then, on top of that, there's something in Earth's atmosphere that's going to add to the red effect.
Something in our atmosphere. Like what?
They describe it as an artificial molecule that was put into the ozone layer, but importantly, it doesn't cause combustion or anything like that. It just changes color when it's hit by specific light rays.
So they're messing with the composition of our atmosphere.
Apparently. And they claim this technology, it's been around for 40 years. And it's getting better all the time.
That's a pretty huge claim.
It is. And this stuff in the atmosphere, it's just hanging out there, waiting to be activated.
Okay, let's go back to the 7-planet alignment for a minute. You mentioned it might not be a real alignment, astronomically speaking.
Right. It's not the planets themselves in a straight line.
What is it?
It's those light vectors, the ones they're using for measuring and making the new cosmic map.
So the word alignment, it's misleading.
Yeah, it's not what we normally think of when we hear that word.
And what was the feeling associated with this alignment?
Movement, like packing and unpacking, getting ready to move, reorganization, not a specific alignment.
So it's a phase, not a fixed event.
That's how it was perceived. And they say the whole alignment thing is being used for publicity, to get people's attention.
But it's not a real alignment.
Not in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
And these light vectors, they're going everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, all different directions, even towards the sun,
What for?
to create this new cosmic map. And it reaches incredibly far.
And what are they using this new map for?
Well, to pinpoint where planets are, for one thing, to understand the frequencies between Earth and other planets.
Frequencies, like energy frequencies.
Yeah, and to give these entities, these interferers, an updated layout of the universe so
Yeah.
they know where everything is.
So it's all about control and information.
That's the gist of it.
What about those suction cups
Yeah,
and the energy absorption? Was that intentional?
definitely. They planned it to take advantage of the energy available during this time, and it all contributes to that feeling of chaos and movement.
And the suction cups themselves, they're artificial too.
That's what they say.
Okay, now you mentioned changes happening on other planets too.
Yeah. They say those changes are vibrational, affecting the atmospheres of these planets.
And they're timed to coincide with the eclipses.
And with other opportunities to generate fear, to make people afraid.
Because fear gives them power.
Exactly. And it reinforces the new structure they're putting in place.
And what about changes to Earth's atmosphere? Besides those artificial molecules, what else was going on?
Well, they're the natural changes from gravity, right?
From the Earth and the Moon.
Yeah. And that's causing some chaos, they say. Especially with the weather.
Oh yeah, wild weather lately.
But then there's the artificial stuff. This heavy energy of fear, the feeling of being weighed down, exhausted, and a lack of well-being.
That's pretty much how everyone's been feeling, honestly.
And there was that interesting comparison to Antarctica.
What about Antarctica?
They saw the polar atmosphere as white and misty, but then as you get closer to the center of the planet, it turns brown and smoky, like a division.
A division in the atmosphere.
That's what they perceived, like Earth is trying to protect the polar energy somehow.
Which ties into the whole thing about the restricted access to the poles.
Exactly. They say that's all connected to Earth's electromagnetic field.
Because the poles are important.
Yeah. They control the planet's functions, they say, like its tilt and rotation.
Okay. And what about those energetic pressures at the poles?
Those were described as connection points. They cause tension, pressing, and releasing, and it affects Earth's electromagnetic waves.
That's a lot of influence.
And it affects us too, they say. Our moods, our thoughts, even the way the planet moves.
So they're manipulating us through the Earth's electromagnetic field.
That's what they're suggesting. And they say it's part of this huge control network that involves tons of entities. It's been going on for a long time.
Wow.
So what about these polar devices? What do they look like?
Inverted cones, pointing down towards Earth.
And at the top, there's this electronic spiral light mechanism, like a screw turning.
And who's controlling these devices?
Not anyone currently, they say. It's pre-programmed by this entity they call Arturo.
Who's Arturo?
Not from this physical plane, apparently.
Right.
Super developed mental field, gave a lot of technology to Earth in the past.
But it's backfiring now.
That's what they're saying. The programming is out of date, doesn't fit with the new cartography. And it's going to keep running for another 100 years, they say. Could be disastrous.
So they want to deactivate these devices.
Yeah, to stop the interference.
Okay, so all of this, the eclipses, the alignment, the manipulation, it all has a purpose.
According to the transcript, the main goal is fear.
To make us afraid.
Exactly, and they stress the importance of not reacting emotionally.
Because any emotion, good or bad, gives them power.
That's right. Ignoring it all, that's what weakens their influence.
So just pretend it's not happening.
Basically.
Okay, last thing. The Pleiadian creator. What else do they say about it?
It's tricky. It wants to help, sort of, like keeping order.
A cosmic traffic cop.
But really, it's all about power. It creates its own energy, knows all about it, has a huge ego, wants to be recognized as the creator.
And other beings, what do they think?
Neutral beings. They ignore it.
Really?
Yeah, it's not taken seriously by everyone,
No.
but it wants to create beings that it can control.
That's pretty messed up.
And it presents itself as all good, all harmonious, compassionate, helping to solve problems, guiding everyone, using its knowledge to sound believable, like, I know everything, trust me.
But it's all manipulation.
Ultimately, yeah. And it connects to some familiar ideas on Earth.
Like what?
The Holy Spirit, for one, that spark or sphere of light above the head.
You mean like in religious art?
Yeah, exactly. And people worshiping it, even with good intentions, it just feeds its ego.
So even positive energy can be harmful.
In this context, yes. And it gives good advice because it knows a lot, but that just makes people dependent on it.
Losing their own inner knowing.
Exactly. And it messes with the future of those who aren't free, as they see it, predetermined destinies.
So not everyone has free will in their eyes.
That's what they believe. But those with free will, they create their own future through their actions.
And how do we stop this creator?
Ignore it. Take away its power.
So it's all about awareness and conscious choice.
That seems to be the message here.
All right, let's wrap this up for you, the learner. This YouTube transcript, it's given us a whole lot to consider. It's a complex mix of actual astronomical events and a very specific esoteric interpretation.
It is.
We've looked at the potential effects of this 7-planet alignment and the eclipses. We've talked about the new cosmic map, manipulation of Earth's atmosphere, electromagnetic field, these polar devices. And then there's this whole idea of a Pleiadian creator who wants to control everything.
A lot to digest, for sure.
And remember, we're not saying any of this is true or not. We just wanted to unpack what's in this source material to give you a clear understanding of what these people believe.
It's an interesting perspective, though, right? Mixing real astronomy with all these esoteric ideas.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think. And that's what we want you to do, the learner. Think for yourself. Given all these ideas about manipulation and control, what parts of your own worldview maybe need a second look? Maybe you want to explore the science behind eclipses and planetary alignments, or look into how different cultures have viewed these events throughout history. It's always good to have multiple perspectives.
Absolutely. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep questioning. That's the best way to understand the world around us.
And we'll be here to help you dive deep into whatever sources you throw our way.
That's right. Until next time.
Keep those sources coming, the learner.